Hey everyone, welcome back to Indicted TV. I'm your host Negra. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, and follow us on Instagram. On today's episode, we have Hector.
What up?
Hector. So introduce yourself. Tell us where you grew up.
Yeah, I'm Hector Bravo. I grew up in Brawley, California.
Okay.
Down south on the border of like Mexicali, Mexico, kind of on the border of Arizona, Yuma.
Nice. And how was your upgrowing, like your household? Sisters, brothers, you know. Like
I got one sister. She's younger than me. I got both of my parents were raised with them.
Oh, nice. So you had like a normal household, should say.
In the what is it? Late '80s, early '90s, normal.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when was the first time you got in trouble?
Trouble with the law was probably in 2006. 2006. Just came back from Iraq, running amok, drinking, partying, going wild, and me and the friends did a beer run. We did a beer run at the 7-Eleven, and the homie just happened to do it right in front of a CHP.
And you're saying when you came back from Iraq?
Iraq.
Okay, so you were in the...
I was in the Army.
Okay.
So yeah.
And how long were you there for?
In Iraq for 13 months.
Okay, so you did your whole
term. Yeah.
Which is like 5 years or something.
Yeah,
right?
I did 3. That was part of my contract, so it worked out.
Okay, so your first time you went to prison, the first time you got in trouble was for the beer run.
Beer run.
And what happened to you then, or like in that situation?
And I thought they were gonna cut me loose, but no, it was like on a Friday maybe. So they actually took us to the police station. From the movies, I knew not to talk, not to say anything. Just strictly from the movies, you know.
They teach you well. Movies teach you well.
My friend was all talking, and I'm like, "Hey, knock it off!" And then the cops saw that I did that, and they separated us. But they took us to county, and even then, I thought, "All right, they should be cutting us loose any second now." And then no, they put us in like in a dress out room where they took our personal property.
For the beer run.
For the freaking beer run. They ended up charging us with commercial burglary, which I don't know what the cop was like, trying to put a 10 on it, trying to like look good. I don't know what was going on, but I was 20 years old.
Yeah, I was about to ask you how old you were.
20. And not only did they not let us go, they put us in the camp. They put us in the dorm setting. And that was pretty sketchy.
Because it was obviously way different than how it was in the dorms while you were going through your army phase, right?
Different and the same. I mean, these were gang members in there. You know what I mean? And I wasn't a gang member. I was just hanging with the wrong crowd. Okay,
so they weren't your army friends?
No, I was stationed in Germany. So my army friends were overseas.
Okay.
This was back home.
Okay, so what happened? So you walked into the dorm and you felt automatically like, oh shit, like what the fuck happened?
There was a catch. The good part is the dude I was with, his cousin was the shot caller of that dorm. So that was like a bonus, like, you know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was it was a trip. It was, and.
So what ended up happening to you?
It was a Friday, so then the weekend, Saturday, Sunday, Monday was a holiday, Tuesday, I don't know what they were doing, and then like Wednesday, Thursday, they released us. Okay. I didn't know anything about bailing myself out. I didn't know any of that stuff, so I just sat in there. And
Did you call your parents?
At that time, I wasn't talking to my parents because they had kicked me out of the house, and I was kind of like living out of my truck and messing up.
Oh, you were just back. You were a good boy.
Well, it was the PTSD, the drinking, the partying, and there was some drug usage in there. It got wild.
Got it.
Got wild.
Yeah, you just came back running amok,
not giving a f.
2005. Wow. So what ended up happening with the case? After you got released, obviously.
They released us on our own recognizance or whatever it's called, and then they ended up dismissing it. I think time served.
Oh, well, that was good. I mean, you were there for that's probably what happened, right?
I think time served.
They're like, okay, it's just like this little minor. Let's just hold him here, give him time served.
Yeah, they didn't charge me. It comes up on my record, but it wasn't a charge. It was
just nothing like a dismiss. Oh, okay. So you didn't end up going to prison or probation or anything?
Nah.
Thank God, right?
Yeah. The buddy that did actually ran out of the store with the beer. That guy got a fine. That guy had like community service. Buddy, he bailed himself out the first day.
Oh, he already knew the vibe.
So I don't know if that had to do. He was a youngster too. Like he was crying when we first went in. But I thought it was funny that he was crying. But
Yeah, because he was a runner. I get it.
yeah,
So how long did you do in prison?
I did 16 years.
16 years in prison, guys.
Officer, sergeant, and lieutenant.
Wow. So what made you decide to
My
become
dad.
a CO?
My dad was a CO, and then, like I said, growing up in Brawley, the Imperial Valley, you got two prisons down there, Centinela and Calipatria. So that's kind of what people do. Either border patrol since you're on the border, or
That's like the
CO.
average job for everybody
Kind
that
of.
wants to become successful at least.
Kind of, yeah.
Okay.
Make money, so.
Yeah, of course. So your first day as a CO, how old were you and how did you feel walking into that prison?
I was 22 years old, 22. My first day, I was working medical, like in the clinic. And then there was an older lady, she was a CO, she kind of just pulled me under her wing, schooled me. She just said like, hey, kick back, relax, I got everything. I'm gonna open the doors, I'm gonna let people in. But me being young and like motivated, I was like, hey, let me help you wherever I can. I don't know what I'm doing, but I wanna do something. I don't feel like cool sitting right here.
Yeah, you wanted to be a part.
But she was like, nah, go for real. She's like, it's gonna be a long day, you're gonna have a long career, just hang out. I was like, all right.
So you definitely hung
So
out.
I kind of hung
for
out,
16
just
years.
observed. Yeah.
And but were you nervous like once like you hear? Because I mean, well, before you actually got hired, did you do like a walkthrough and
In
like,
high
you know how you
school.
hear the gates and you know?
In high school, I did a walkthrough of Calipat. It was career day. They got all the juniors and seniors in school that wanted to go visit or tour. And yeah, it was kind of freaking Calipat. You see the tattoos, you see the bald heads, they start like catcalling you and talking shit, and it's like, damn.
Okay, so that's when you were in high school. As a little, little walkthrough. But your first day, when the lady was like, okay, well here they come, and the door opens. How was that?
Well, like at the academy, I don't know if they still do it now, but they would take you to different prisons. We went to Mule Creek, we went to San Quentin, then we went to New Folsom. So you're seeing these inmates. Yeah, it's kind of sketchy there. Like, yeah, you think, well, maybe they won't hurt me, maybe they won't assault me because I'm a cadet, like in training to become a CO, but there's no really, there's no rule or law. There's no rule saying you're off limits.
Of course. No, yeah.
We went to DVI. I think they
What
closed,
is DVI?
Dual Vocational Institute.
Okay.
They closed that one down.
To like teach you.
Yeah. Well, that was the female Stockton prison. They closed that one down, and that's the academy that I went to.
Okay.
I didn't go to the other academy that the regular people go to. They were running two simultaneous ones at that time.
Back to the first day. So you weren't nervous once they walked in?
Nervous? I try not to think about it. I probably was nervous.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah, they could tell that I was new. Now that you got me thinking back, they could tell. Kind of looking at me. And I was by the book. By the book because that's all how I knew how to be. So they're like, oh, that's crazy. You don't got to be doing all that. The inmates were telling me. Just the way that I was like locking the holding cell after every...
They knew you were super
new
fish.
Day one. Yeah. So yeah, for sure.
Did they like say any names or like... They were just trying to like guide you to do it the right way, but you're thinking obviously you're doing it the wrong way.
Who, the inmates?
Yeah, like were they like, because you're saying like, hey, you don't need to do it that way, because they already know
They were
the
just
program.
saying you don't need to do all that. You're doing too much. And maybe I was, but I wasn't gonna start taking shortcuts initially. You know.
The first day.
I didn't even know how to take shortcuts. But
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, just doing that extra, going that extra measure as far as like double checking locked doors and just.
So you were trying to watch out. You were watching your back.
Yeah, nothing crazy initially like that. Nothing wild. Just.
Cool. How was your day to day? Obviously not from the first day, you know, but once you're already like settled and, you know, you need a routine. For the
Settled,
program.
that's when it starts picking up. That's when the pace starts picking up. That's when you start observing, seeing who's who, what's what. I was in I was on the level 4 yard, Charlie yard, Centinela. So I was in the gym initially, which is a dorm setting, but right outside the dorm are the buildings, the housing units, level 4s. The inmates in the gym were level 3, the ones in the buildings were level 4s. So they would always have them hold the weapons in the gym for them, you know what I mean?
Yes.
But at that time, the Southsiders, the Sureños, were beating up every race inside of the gym. So I think they went off on the whites first, the white inmates. So then the whites got moved out. Then they went off on the blacks. The blacks got moved out. So only in that gym were Southsiders and Paisas, which, like I said, that was my first introduction, which is kind of sketchy because if there's no other races, then all their focus is on us. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like they get emboldened to like flex, or there's no other tension amongst their population.
Ooh.
So that was interesting to navigate.
And since we're on that topic, were you ever involved, well, not obviously involved in a riot because, you know, but did you experience it? I mean, you were there for 16 years.
Couple riots, a handful of riots. Yeah. Bravo Yard, a riot in the housing units, on the bunk beds, and then simultaneously it kicked off in the gym. Code 3, which is our max codes, alarms.
Wow. And is it like in the movies? Like, you know how it's just like everybody's throwing toilet paper, like, you know,
They're not throwing toilet paper, they're throwing stuff that can hurt you. Trash cans, phones, mop handles, brooms, locks and socks, soaps, shanks. They got, so it was wild. That was that riot on Bravo Yard. There was a couple riots on Alpha Yard. This is level 3 GP. And I remember running outside of the building and just seeing pockets of fights everywhere. Fights, because they were releasing for chow at that time. So they were coming out of the gym, going into the dining hall, and you had inmates coming out of the building. So you had inmates coming out of the housing units, inmates coming out of the gym, and inmates going into the dining. So it was just pockets of fighting everywhere, and like that was nuts. To
be there. And do you just like do you watch it?
No.
Like, were you telling yourself like, fuck, do I just watch, or like, or do I need to run and like do this, but I gotta protect myself at the same time? Like, what is how should I say it? What is like the protocol? The protocol, exactly.
So the protocol is to stop the violence, is to quell the violence. We do have procedures in place to do it in the safest manner possible.
For yourself.
For ourselves. Yes. But at that time, it was kind of a free-for-all. You know, I'm not going to claim that I'm an OG or came in back in the day, but it was kind of like a free-for-all. Like, you get in where you can get in. And, yeah, initially I saw, that one was the blacks and the Mexicans going at it. I saw in front of the chow hall, probably 3 Southsiders jumping 1 black dude. And I had a baton in my hand and a spray in my hand, which you're not really supposed to. They don't train us to have 2 use of force options.
I was like, I thought you need the shield.
Yeah, like you're really technically only supposed to use 1, but I'm like, holy shit, you know? And as soon as me and this other guy run to that location, this female officer with her pepper spray sprayed across like that, and it got in our eyes.
Oh.
Mine and my partner, and my eyes just shut. It's pepper spray. So I feel these dudes fighting around my legs, and my eyes are shut, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna get knocked out. Like I can't see. And
you're like fighting for your life too.
Well, yeah, because as I'm running, she sprays me, and I run right into the fight.
Oh.
And so I get my fingers and I pry my eyes open to see, and then I kind of use my baton to put them down. But they were fighting everywhere. So I took off running over here. These inmates jumped back up. I came back running over here. Those inmates jumped back up. Finally, I said, I'm staying put right here and waiting until the help comes. And that had to have been like 2008.
So you were already in how many years?
2, 1.
Not even that much at all, right?
2, 1.
Wow. That's intense.
But that was that one, yeah.
Would you say that was like the craziest thing you saw? Or what would you say is the craziest thing you saw? Or was that like the craziest thing you saw in that prison?
I saw a lot of crazy things, but it all varies. Like, I don't know if we're talking about levels of violence or just weird stuff.
Weird, whatever. I mean, crazy is crazy. It doesn't necessarily have to mean like, oh, he's getting stabbed or like.
One weird thing that I saw that stuck out was like a guy took a needle and the thread. Well, he came up to me and he's like, I got to go see medical. And I'm like, why? He's like, because my tongue hasn't stopped bleeding for hours. I'm like, what do you mean your tongue hasn't stopped bleeding? Because he was kind of covering his mouth. And he like went like this. This dude got a needle and thread and put it through his tongue and sewed it out so it could look like a snake. And I'm just like, why would you do that? But yeah, he went out to medical. It was serious. He hit like a vessel or something, like a nerve or something.
Wow.
That was just odd, you know?
Yeah, like obviously, you know, he was probably bored, whatever, you know? Yeah, that is kind of
that was kind of weird. Stabbings, riots, murders.
Did you ever experience one? Like, you had to like actually get the body out?
The bodies, I've handled a lot of bodies, mostly overdoses, natural causes, cirrhosis of the liver.
That happens a lot, huh? Cirrhosis of the
liver?
A
lot. And like I'm an alcoholic. I got 12 years of sobriety.
Oh, good for you.
Thank you. So I thank God that I stopped because that would have been my future. You know, the jaundice and this and that. Mm-hmm. But I've seen a lot of that death, the slow death, painful.
Wow.
I did get to fly in a helicopter, it was a small airplane. A small airplane one time. This white dude got stabbed in the neck pretty good. So you have to weigh under 200 pounds so you can get on the airplane. They have like regular rules. We land in UCSD, San Diego. And the doctor started putting that saline or that liquid in the wound. And this dude starts like gagging like, what's that? It tastes bad. And the doctor's like, you could taste that? And he's like, yeah. He's like, hey, let's get this dude upstairs right now, like emergency operation.
Because it was like all the way the whole.
Apparently it punctured his esophagus or something. And like that dude, it's messed up. But at that point, he panicked. Like, the fuck?
Of course.
At that point, he was like, hey, let me call my mom. And I'm just like, hey, dude's like, I can't do that. You know what I mean? I can't allow that. So that was a trip. That was a trip.
I would have been like, fuck, what's your mom's number?
Yeah, that was a trip. And that was early on too in my career, but that was at Centinela.
And you were by the book your whole 16 years.
Okay, so like, let's talk about that.
Oh shit, he's smiling.
So at the academy, they teach you letter of the law and spirit of the law. In law enforcement, they teach you letter of the law or spirit of the law, meaning you can be by the book or you can go by spirit of the law. Meaning like if you're a cop on the street, somebody's speeding, the cop pulls them over and is like, hey, next time, slow down. You're kind of getting your point across. You're kind of giving them a break. It's not illegal to do that. That's spirit of the law.
So it's a thing.
It's a thing. It's called spirit of the law.
I'm gonna be like, hey, there's such a thing. When I get pulled over, I'm like, spirit of the law.
You could give it a shot.
Hey, you never know, right?
So that was my style.
Spirit of the law. How long after you were in did you like figure out like, okay?
Well, so another thing they taught us in the academy, right? Because I'm only going off of what I'm learning.
Of course.
I wasn't born with any of this skill or experience. They always told us like, hey, whenever you start in a new area, you come in hard and you back off.
Makes sense.
And that makes sense. But you cannot come in soft and then try to get hard because they're going to look at you like you're crazy.
Big. Yeah.
So I always remembered that, and then that's how my approach would be. I wouldn't come in like a cowboy, but
I understand what you mean. Every time, I've obviously been incarcerated a lot of times, right? And it's always so much better to deal with. And I know how now, spirit of the law officer now.
Yeah.
Because it just makes the whole situation, just the whole unit, more at calm, more peace, instead of like, oh, vocio's coming into, oh, here comes this fucking dick. Yep. You know? Yep. So it's like you look forward to, okay, it's gonna be a smooth day. He's here. Obviously, if we want to act right, it's gonna be right. If we want to fuck up, we know what the fuck we got coming.
Yeah, and then it kind of works because a lot of the times you don't want to fuck that guy's program off. You don't want to front him off because it's so good. Why mess it up?
Exactly. I definitely agree. That's cool.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. So what was the difference between dealing with all the races, like all different race groups?
Yeah. Well, I've stated before that like California is racially segregated in the prison system.
Okay.
You got the tables where the whites hang out. You got the tables where the Southsiders hang out, the blacks, and so on and so forth. I've got to experience areas where it was just one certain race. I told you I started in Charlie Gym, Centinela, that was all Southsiders and Paisas. So I got to experience that. I also ended up on Delta Gym at one point. It was all blacks in that gym. A-Yard Alpha Gym was all blacks at one point. So there's definitely differences, right? There's differences, and I just got to let it be known that I was fair across the board, right? And I talk about what they taught us at the academy. They told us, you do one thing for one person,
you gotta do it.
You have to do it for all, and that's how I operated. So a lot of times when we say no, or I used to say no, it was because I couldn't or didn't want to do it for the rest of everybody else.
And you obviously dealt with these different groups, right? Even just like on how they were on their sleeping ways, like what was the difference, like the showering, like who was more cleaner, who was more dirtier, like
yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
I hear you. So Southsiders were structured. You have to realize they're answering to people. There's a structure. They have to be up by a certain time of the day. They have to roll their mattress up. They cannot be out in the day room with their shoes, without their shoes. If they're talking to a cop, they got to take a shadow so they're not, telling or snitching or anything like that. So we see that. They have that going on. Whites operate in the same manner. They're clean. Southsiders are clean. They spotless. I mean, they're in there. You see them cleaning their cell, right, with like a washcloth and the toilet and the shelving. The blacks, it didn't seem like they had structure. Don't get it wrong. I had a rapport with some influential black inmates, dudes that I knew that had come from Calipac. I saw at Centinela, and then we're now at Donavan when I ended up at Donavan. But as far as structure, like if one messes up, I would have to put the emphasis on somebody else to handle that.
I get it. They just don't care.
Correct. They're not going to do they're not going to as much take it upon themselves to handle that problem.
Unless it's their own.
Unless it's going to cause a problem with everybody in every race, which happens sometimes.
Yeah.
But definitely differences, the level of respect, disrespect, they varies in the races, and I'm not being biased or anything. It's just that what I experienced, what I observed, it's like the Southsiders and probably the whites have it in the rules that you can't disrespect a cop because of the consequences that will come tear up the pad, make a point, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the
blacks.
blacks.
Fuck up their program.
Yeah. Because it's not hard, as all we have to do is do it. Yeah. But a lot of times we're just kicking back. We just want to kick back. But yeah,
whatever happens. Yeah. As long as it's not being chaotic, right? Obviously,
yeah, for sure. But yeah, like the blacks, at times they were disrespectful. And that's not everybody, but you hear what I'm saying.
Yes, I do.
Because I've met a lot of OGs, a lot of good dudes, and yeah, that's the truth.
So how do you guys deal with the males that are in GP to special needs yard?
It varies because you can end up on SNY for various reasons. The guys that were no good were dudes that would like ring up a drug debt on purpose with no intentions of paying and then PC up to avoid that. It's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's not cool any which way you look at it.
So is that the most common one?
So the other flip side to that would be, well, there's a couple ways, like I said. There would be like if you're an OG, like you actually did put in work. You actually did put in work. You did your time as an inmate, but now you want to call it quits because you see a future. You have hope. You have a family. You got it. The light switch went off.
After 20, 30 years.
Yeah, that's the unfortunate part about it, is that they don't see it till it's very, very late in the game. But yeah, those guys I understand, because, hey, I can't. I mean, I resigned. I resigned from the prison after 16 years. You can only play the game for so long unless you want to play it forever.
Yeah.
It's up to you. It's up to each individual. And then there were the other ones that got put in the hat, so to say, that fell in bad standings as a result of politics, greed, or power, unfortunate circumstances, unforeseen circumstances, and maybe they were righteous dudes, legitimate dudes, and because the cards fell the wrong way, they're either going to get stabbed to death or they have to come over to this side.
Question really quick. Do you guys, like you said, they get put in the hat, so it's you guys that are watching everything, or is it?
Both.
Okay.
So we're not
Saving people.
No, we're not. When we come to work, we're not oblivious to what's going on. We know who is who. We know what is what. We know what they're doing. Like maybe that was a misconception. Like, oh, we're getting over on these cops. We're getting over. Ain't nobody really getting over. We're allowing it because.
That's what it is.
Yeah, I mean.
You know, when you sign up to be a CEO, this is what's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean. I'm not there to, I mean, are you really going to stop every person tattooing? So are you really going to do this? Pruno's dangerous because they can get drunk, but it's Super Bowl Sunday. Am I really going to mess up this dude's program? Like, you know, but, so yeah, we know who's who. We'll either find out they're no good, but they're no good amongst themselves. They're in the hat two ways. They're going to get freaking stabbed and almost murdered. Or we get information or intel like, hey, this dude is going to get hit if you don't remove him. So it's our job to provide safety, and we got to do what we have to do. We'll pull them aside and we'll ask them, are you good? But they say they're good. They say they're good, and we know they're not good. Like we know, hey, dude, you're going to get fucking killed, man. Like, not to be a dick, but. And they fight it to the end. They'll fight it, I'm good. You can have a dude stabbed like 20, 30 times. And afterwards, like, I'm still good, send me back. And it's like, no, dude, you're not good, man.
Wow.
But they're just so into it, so into the game, you know what I mean? So into it, like, I don't know what it is, youth, dedication, that's all they know. I kind of get it. Yeah. You know that you don't want to. That's your life. You don't
want to look bad. That's your, for yourself, because I'm sure, like out here, their families only want the best for them or whatever. But once they're in for so long, it's like, fuck. I have the rest of my life, and I still have to be in this place.
Right.
Like, am I gonna be a bitch?
Right. Yeah, and it's not even about that, honestly. I mean, looking at from a grown-up, from a man's perspective, from a mature individual. And if I can give advice of any sort, it's not about that. That's like almost like ego, like stubbornness. You're really going to be so stubborn and so egotistical that you're willing to die. I get it. When I was in the military, I was the same way. Yeah. Right? You couldn't tell me nothing. You couldn't do anything like that. But we see it. It's sketchy.
And is there an age limit, like you said, like the ones that kind of like run up the drug and they don't have any, they're just addicts basically, and they have to, roll it up for that reason. Is there like an age limit? Not like an age limit, but like the age, like normal, or is it all like from like for 20-year-olds?
Everything.
There's no age.
No age, but I came in 2006. We're now in 2023. You have dudes that PC up off the bus in county jail. So they never, ever hit a mainline. But then they want to come at me with an attitude of some sort. It's like,
how do you deal with those? As in, like, you're a guard and you're just there working, you're doing your thing, but you know where he stands.
Correct. I know.
So
yeah.
How do you feel like? How did you deal? Because obviously you're not.
Well, back in the day, the stuff wasn't easily accessible on the computer. Okay, you actually had to go to records, get a big OC file, go through it, which I rarely did because of the hassle.
For sure.
as I promoted and as the years went on, technology, everything was at the tip of your fingertips. I wouldn't even look at these dudes' files because I knew just the way they were acting. There's no way you're about it. There's no way you ever did anything. I mean, even if you did do something on the streets, like what, you victimized somebody or whatever.
Yeah.
There's a difference to the levels to the game. You know what I mean? But as I got older, I calmed down more.
Just like
As I got older, as I got married, when I had my daughter, that really flipped the game. That really, I told myself I can't be doing what I'm doing anymore. You know, like, because I would confront, if challenge, I would challenge back or meet the challenge.
I understand what you mean.
So yeah, and it kind of to the point where they would talk shit, kind of to the point like, yeah, whatever, dude. That's how good it got, like comfortable, like, pff. And everybody sees around, like my partners are looking at me like, he's not blowing him off because he's scared. He's blowing him off because he's a nobody. You know what I mean?
I understand.
Now, I never did allow myself to get disrespected. There's a difference to be, like if I'm walking and if somebody were to call me like a bitch or something, then I would have to stop and address that.
Because or else everybody will see
Watching.
that.
Correct. So, but if they're behind a holding cell and running their mouth, before I used to open the holding cell. And you're not supposed to do that, and I don't advise anybody to do that.
But you're with the spirit law.
But because once you remove that barrier, it's like, what's up now?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And people say, oh, you're a professional, you shouldn't have done that. No, I'm a man, I'm a person, I'm a human.
Most definitely.
But I calmed down a lot over the years.
I mean, I'm sure.
And then I was a supervisor, so I had to school these young kids, these young cops, like, hey, bro, like, same way I was schooled. Don't take it personal. It's all business. They got to live here. You get to go home at the end of the day. They're not going anywhere. So it's the same.
Yeah, because I'm sure you had to train like these little hard-ass ones too, huh?
Varies, yeah, varies. The hard-ass ones, the scared ones, the new ones, the confused ones.
As far as you said,
The guards.
No, I know. I know. You said you giggled and you kind of laughed when you said confused. Why did you like confused? Like, fuck, do I want to do the thing the right way? And pass the spirit law.
Confused is like maybe that job wasn't for them.
Okay.
Like maybe like you would have been better preschool teacher or elementary school teacher or something of that nature.
Okay.
Confused where you start seeing the gears changing like
oh shit, do I really want to do this? I understand.
Especially when stuff kicks off.
I meant to say like confused by, was it the cop? Do I want to be the cop that brings things in or do I want to not?
No, because from what I've seen, those people were not confused. They just went for it.
You got to meet a lot of those?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, males and females.
Is it more women?
Could be anything. It could be any race, any gender. I've seen it all, and talked about it on one of my channels, on one of my episodes. I talked about like, yeah, we know what's going on. We know what's going on, but it's not not our job to go stop them.
No, you're not gonna snitch on your coworker.
Well, it's not about snitching because, like, to be honest with you, that is the type of information that if you really truly wanted to, and some people do, we'll tell our investigative unit. Yeah. Like, hey, just a heads up, this is what I'm hearing.
Because it's the correct thing to do.
Yeah, and that's not what, I don't consider that snitching. I don't consider that snitching.
It's the correct thing to do. No, I understand.
But I also wouldn't be the type to go and spread a rumor, a false narrative, because what if it's not true?
You have to know facts.
Yeah.
Okay, so what was your outlook on the job when you first started compared to your outlook once you were ready to retire? Or even now?
I was young, was motivated, hungry. It was a new world. It was a different time. It was cops and robbers. It literally was cops and robbers. Cat and mouse, respect up to a certain degree, right? Unless you're those wild card situations on either side. Mm-hmm. And then throughout the years, the policy changes. Not all bad, definitely not all good. And the politicalness, the It probably had something to do with me promoting, because I was an officer for 8 years, promoted to sergeant. So now I get to see a little bit more. Promoted after that to lieutenant. So now I'm seeing a lot. Then I got these special jobs, these special privileges, where I was behind the scenes of what the big people were doing. And that opened my eyes to a lot of like ugliness. That's not my world.
Can you tell us a little bit more about that, or whatever you could say?
Yeah. It's like, I want you to imagine people like backstabbing. Yeah, backstabbing happens at the lower level, but backstabbing at the lower level isn't going to have the consequences of and you shouldn't be doing that at that position. Okay. You should be, at that position, you should be professional and focused on accomplishing some type of mission. Agendas, vendettas, retaliation, targeting.
So like in the movies, really?
Yes, but I never experienced anything like that in my life. Like, not like that. That's what made me resign.
Okay.
After 16 years. It wasn't my cup of tea. It wasn't. Now, mind you, had something been done about it, right? Because people were like blowing the whistle. From what I experienced at Donavan, had those people been held accountable, then I probably would still be working there. But it's that they got away with it. That's what made me sick to my stomach.
Yeah, you're like, okay, I'm over here, doing what we got to do, and it's never going to get better because of the person.
The higher ups were accusing us below that we were corrupt, beating up inmates, a bad culture of a green wall. I keep hearing the terminology green wall a lot, but that we were this way. And I'll be dead honest with you, we were not that way. As a matter of fact, we were the exact same way as I was explaining earlier. Like, we just want to chill. Yeah. We want everybody to get along. It doesn't benefit anybody for us to be fighting all day long. When in fact they were the ones carrying themselves that way.
Like doing things to set things off, like in the movies.
That, and then there's that whole non-designated program that they implemented where they mix the GP and the SNY. On the line, we were like, no, this is dumb. Stop what you're doing. Because you're mixing. You know what's going to happen if you mix them.
Oh, shit.
And we were the ones on the front lines dealing with this, dealing with the fighting. And then it got to the point where they turned on us. I knew it was going to get to that point. Mm-hmm. Because them fighting each other wasn't getting them the results that they wanted. Sooner they turned on us, yeah. But what do they care at the top? They don't care. They're in their desk.
No, yeah, for sure. Not just like watching. I understand.
There was the whole COVID pandemic mishandling back in the 2019, 2020, whenever it was. All you need is common sense to know not to be mixing and moving people around when there's a virus going on. And that's what the powers above did. Shuffled all the inmates around, so everybody caught it. A lot of people died. And we're on the ground, we're on the line, like on boots on the ground, like, what the fuck are you guys thinking? Like, what are you guys doing? Wow. Just incompetence. Like,
it's COVID. Keep everybody where they're at.
Just might as well leave them in the cell. Like, that's your best bet right now. If they suffer a medical emergency, go get them the help that they need, period.
Because it's not like they got COVID from anybody. They got COVID from the COs.
That is true. They activated the gyms, so you had gyms full of COVID, which I feel bad for the cops because you're in there with them. Yeah, you got your gown, you got your mask.
But I mean,
it's a whole gym full of COVID. Multiple gyms.
Goodness.
Doesn't even sound like a good idea.
Not at all.
And the second that you try to say something, they'll write you up. They'll write you up, the big people. Yeah. Like, it was grimy.
Wow.
So they'll make mistakes, right? They'll put a fucked up situation, they'll throw a fucked up situation on your lap that's gonna go south. And when it goes south, they blame you. Yeah. And you're like,
sorry, I shushed a fucking fly.
Oh, so yeah, like
COVID in prison was intense.
COVID, the non-designated, just, oh my God. Then we got body-worn cameras at Donavan. We were the first prison in the state of California to get body-worn cameras.
Body worn cameras like the ones
Like the ones on the police, the ones on the streets that record everything. So the inmates sued, the lawyers picked it up. This whole giant allegation that the officers were beating up disabled inmates. The courts got involved, now we have body worn cameras. Well, there's civil rights and there's like, I would imagine laws of like privacy. The higher ups wanted that 24/7. Like kind of even when you're using the bathroom. Wow. Kind of like, you know what I mean? It wasn't until they put out the policy that said, hey, well, you can turn it off for these handful of reasons. But the way they were watching the camera, like I said, I was behind the scenes during this.
So you were already like there.
Yeah, I would come into the warden's office and that dude would be watching officers on a big old giant like high definition TV. And I'm like, what is this dude doing? Because that wasn't the point of the cameras.
Yeah, he just wanted to watch everybody's shit.
That's
not actually care what was going on.
Yeah, it was
to watch his back.
It was grimy. It was disgusting. Like, it was foul. Wow. And then they just started writing up cops for saying bad words in a break room. In the break room, bad mouthing the higher ups. I mean, that's fine. We could bad mouth the higher ups. Who cares? Like, but that's their own private time. But no, they would just retaliate and target.
Wow, that's crazy. So when you say retaliate and target, are you speaking on you yourself with your coworkers, not the inmates?
Not the inmates.
Okay.
Us.
And with yourselves.
We had a good captain, real good captain, and up until this point, I haven't given him credit. I haven't put a shout out there. But I respect this man. He was a Marine. I respect this guy to the max, and he fought the good fight. He didn't bend the knee to those bad higher ups, and as a result, every time an interview for associate warden came up, they put a fake frivolous investigation on him.
Oh my God!
Every time. So it was like once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, and it's unfortunate and sad that by the 5th time he didn't even apply. And he's like, I didn't apply because I don't want to go under another investigation. And I'm like, dude, that's so messed up.
Because he's like working so hard, and it's just for,
And he was competent. He knew the policy. He knew how to talk to staff and inmates. Like, this dude was it.
Wow.
You know what I mean? But they didn't like that.
Yeah, because they felt intimidated.
Yup. So yeah, that was target and retaliation.
That sucks.
It created such a hostile work environment that people were calling in sick. Plus COVID.
Plus COVID, yeah, I was about to say that.
Calling in sick, so now you have no officers at the prison. So now the inmates cannot come out to their yard, they cannot come out to their day room and their programs. Now they're upset.
Oh yeah, that messes, yeah, it's like they're in this room all day. They're getting antsy, yeah.
There's times where I was a lieutenant self-feeding because it was just me and 3 other lieutenants, and we're self-feeding, and I have to quell. I am talking to very influential individuals, very influential inmates at the top of the food chain. And I'm telling, and they were upset. He was upset. And I'm like, look, man, this, and this, and this. And I had to just be open with the guy.
Yeah, you got to be,
Open with him, like, hey, dude, they are fucking doing us dirty. They're doing us so grimy, man. Like, I didn't apologize, right? Because I'm not going to apologize.
Yeah, because it's what it is.
Right, but I just had to be transparent. And I shouldn't even be having to do that,
But
I shouldn't have to be answering for my boss's mistakes.
And how did, you said he didn't like it or whatever, but did he understand?
They respect it. They respect it. But you have to understand this now. I would get them on the back end. Meaning like, okay, here's a privilege that you're technically kind of not supposed to have, but it's not illegal and it's not going overboard. But like, what can I say? Like maybe, I'm not going to say extra yard time because you can't really go past a certain clock hour. But like, if they wanted to have a spread somewhere over here, like it was a certain day, they're like, hey, me and the fellas want to come over here. And I'm like, fuck it, knock it out. Yeah. Because and a spread is... a
spread.
You want to throw in your sponsor right here? A spread is when they mix the soups, they mix the hot Cheetos, they mix the cheese spread and the beans, so stuff like that. So now, not only am I having to answer for my boss's mistakes, now I'm actually having to bend the rules, not break the rules. Bend the rules to keep the peace.
So you would have to find a time to take this person, these little group out, put them back in.
So it's just sketchy. You know what I mean? It's just not a good situation. When if everything was just cool, everything would have been cool.
But COVID.
Oh, the boss's incompetence.
Wow. That's pretty intense. So the craziest thing you done in each prison that you worked in?
The craziest would be, I mentioned a couple riots already in Bravo Yard and Alpha Yard. Well, one time the gym went off, Alpha Gym went off, and this was the blacks and the Mexicans again. There was a lot of racial tension back then, a lot of racial violence back then. And I was in the gym gun with a partner. So in the catwalk, I was in the catwalk and I had like a Mini 14 rifle and then the 40 millimeter less than lethal. And at that time, we had extra staff members in the gym because in that month, there was a lot of staff assaults at Centinela. Like the inmates were attacking officers, like weekly for sure, probably like every other day. So it was during that month. Yeah, it was a lot. But I was new, so I was like, what do I know? It's fucking normal.
Yeah, I'm just here.
Try not to get beat up. You know, ducking and dodging, but I was up in the gun and it went off code 3. And I hear just like banging and my partner goes, oh shit. My partner was an OG. He had a lot of timing. And I like jump up and I grab the 40 millimeter because it was up against the cage and I look down, right? And there's just fighting everywhere, pockets of fighting. It's like a movie 300.
Wow.
And just started, you know, shooting, going away with a 40 with the exact impact round, sponge rounds. Shooting. Well, we had double the ammunition up there. Shooting and they're still fighting, shooting, still fighting. And it's just, so I think we both had 16 rounds, 1-6 up there, right? And they're still fighting, and
like it didn't phase them.
it was phasing them, but not stopping them. With the adrenaline's going for them, you know what I mean? So they're just gonna continue doing what they're doing, and then my partners come in, and then I seen a black inmate like flopping around in the bathroom area, and I'm like, oh damn, like. Did this dude get shot? Did I shoot this guy? Like, what happened here? Like, right, because now I'm scared. Like, what the fuck happened here? Right, because I was shooting everybody. You know, I mean, just identifying, but...
No, I get what you mean.
And what ended up happening is that individual ended up getting stabbed in the scrotum and in the lung and was having some type of seizure. So they took him out to the hospital and gave him the care, but that was sketchy. That was up there in my career as far as like highlights, but...
Because you thought it was you. That's why it sticks a little more?
I think just that experience. When else are you going to have 2 gunners up there, 4 cops on the floor, a code 3 riot? You know, and then I remember specifically the door, because there's a door to get in, because this is on the rooftop, so you come in through the roof. Like the door burst open, I remember, because I was out of ammunition. And my buddy from Hawaii, he had a gas mask on, long ass hair, and holding all kinds of rounds like this. And I remember because the sun was like gleaming. He's like, here, bro, I got you. And I'm like, the fuck? But it had already stopped. He just came in with extra stuff. But I remember that door bursting open.
Like he's your lifesaver?
Yeah, but that was Centinela.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
And what other one did you say you were
Donavan.
at? Donavan.
In San Diego. The crazy thing was, I was a sergeant. I was brand new. Just got the stripes.
Oh, you thought you were the man, huh?
Kind of. But it's such a wild prison that I definitely wasn't the man. You know, I mean, I was
definitely
struggling.
Peeped them, huh? They peeped them right away.
Yeah. An inmate tied a shank to his hand and stabbed one of my officers multiple times. And I responded to that. And I was brand new. And the only thing I cared about was my officer's safety. So it was a big like eye-opener. Like I had already experienced the riots. I'd already been in some staff assaults. I've already seen inmate murders, but to have an inmate tie a weapon to his hand and go after a cop was on a whole nother level.
You mean tie?
Tied with the bed sheets, he ripped the bed sheets and then he wove it, so that means that he can't drop it. This dude meant business.
Ooh.
You know what I mean? So like, this dude's not dropping the weapon.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not going nowhere, so he's just gonna keep doing what he's stabbing. It was a white dude. He had been up on meth for like 5 days. Crazy, EOP, J-Cats is what they called him back then. Luckily, he was like on the skinnier side, and then my buddy, he was an officer at the time, now he's a lieutenant, he's stocky. And at that time, you have a green light. You have a green light to kill this individual. If there's deadly force criteria, it meets it. You know, and definitely an inmate stabbing somebody meets that criteria.
Mm-hmm.
So like my partner or my officer hit him in the head with a baton, and that's deadly force right there. Dude drops and gets back up like a zombie because he was high on meth. Comes at him again, and then they kind of start tussling, wrestling, get down, and then that's when I come in. And then it's just on and cracking, on and cracking.
What did you do?
I came in with my baton, expanded, and I didn't know what was happening at first. I didn't know, the alarm just went off, nobody got on the radio. I thought it was a fight. I thought it was a fight between two inmates. And then as I come in, I see kind of like officers doggy piling an inmate, and I'm like, well, okay, that's kind of weird, that's not normal. My mind just got like going fast. And then that's when that cop says, hey, he stabbed me, Sarge. He has a weapon. And then my eyes just went like, yeah. The dude, I could see his hand like this with a weapon hanging like that. So I just came down, hit him in the forearm with my baton. It broke his arm, it broke his forearm. And then he came back like this. And then that's when that dude yelled out again. He has it tied to his hand. And I'm like, oh,
because now you got to be careful as
God.
well.
So like again, my Zoom, because like I've been in a lot of stressful situations. Like I've been in combat in Iraq. I've been in those riots. Like the human body and mind does some crazy shit. Like it'll do tunnel vision. It'll do auditory exclusion, right? So it'll just focus, and yeah, I could see the, I could see the wrapped up weapon and the wrapped up hand. So I'm like,
Wow.
because I'm the sergeant. I'm the sergeant, so like
You got to take care
I'm
of
the one.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's something that they didn't really tell you is that your troops are looking at you. They're looking to see how you're going to react, what you're going to do.
Yeah, you have to say it.
Comes with responsibility. They were doing their job, right? They were handling their business too. They were doing what they were supposed to do, but I have that responsibility. So I just started stomping on the guy's hand because that's what made sense to me. Like disable the hand. To say if I can break the hand, then hopefully he will not want to use the hand. You know what I mean? And just stomping.
Is that what did it?
There was a lot of us. People were doing different things. Some people were holding him down with all their might, right? Because like has strength, like he's on drugs and aggressive. Some people were holding him down. I was doing some stomping. Other people were just trying to get hands in,
They were in the way.
Everybody was trying to do something, right? Like just stop this. And somebody yelled, get the cut down tool, which is like a pair of scissors up in the control booth. I, as a sergeant, didn't even think that. Like I'm fucking in the mix, like trying to stop this guy. And yeah, as soon as they came down, you know, you start cutting. He's screaming the whole time. This is another crazy thing that I hadn't talked about. There was other inmates on the day room. So they're sitting down. They're watching all of this. So once they cut the weapon off, and then we're finally able to get his hands behind his back and get him in handcuffs, some inmate yelled, hey, that's enough. Some inmate yelled something, and I had lost my fucking mind. I'm like, shut the fuck up, bitch, you're next. Because I had just went through that. You know what I mean? And like, not that I was trying to act hard or act crazy, that's what just came out, like my adrenaline, my aggression. And I I advanced toward that dude, and he got up and ran back to his cell. This was an SNY yard, so they're not gonna all get up and fucking jump.
They're all already not in the mix, but they're
not in
try
the mix.
to.
There's no politics. So had that been a GP yard, that would have been a whole nother fucking story. That would have.
You guys would all been rushed.
Correct.
Because you guys were in that zone.
Correct. Yeah, it would have been bad, ugly, worse.
Well,
Depends.
thank God it wasn't, right?
Yeah. So yeah, I remember that.
So glad he said that was SNY. I was like, oh man, I can't even put that in.
No, that was SNY. That was SNY, and I knew the environment.
It's more calm.
It can't be calm because the guy just tied a weapon to his
I mean, but
hand.
he's on drugs, so that's like different.
But different levels to the game.
Yeah.
You got to know your environment. You got to know who you're around.
Craziest thing you ever found in prison?
You find all kinds of weird shit. You find like homemade dildos, homemade. One weird shit that I found was like a ball, and I found this by fucking accident. Like, I think he was using the ball to stretch himself out to be able to hide more things hoop more things.
Oh,
So,
shit.
like a practice ball. I don't know what the fuck it was, but once I kind of realized what was going on, I kind of left it alone. Like, don't want no part of this. But I found SIM cards in guys' mouths, made them take it out, break it, throw it away. Spirit of the law.
Spirit of the law.
Hype kits, syringes, homemade, they're everywhere, unfortunately. Tattoo guns.
That's not even major. Like, tattoo guns are like nothing, right? Or, I
To
mean,
me, it's
something
not. To me, it's nothing.
Yeah, I don't think it's
I
major.
remember I was a sergeant. And a young officer called me. He's like, "Hey, Sarge, I found a tattoo gun. I want to write this inmate up." And I'm like, "Oh my god!" I'm like, "Is your partner there?" "Yeah, put him on. Hold on." I'm like, "Hey, talk to this dude." And he's like, "I am." It was an old man. He's like, "I am, dude. I am. I'm trying." And I'm like, "Talk to him. School him." So they're like, all right. So then, like, when I got around to talking to him, I'm like, "Hey, man, there's different ways to skin a cat. You can do all kinds of things. Yeah, you could write them up. You can throw it away. You can, dispose of it. You can, there's different, you don't always have to write them up, but you can do whatever you want, man." But he got it. Like,
Yeah. For a tattoo gun.
but yeah, weird weapons, shitload of weapons. Good ones too.
Good ones like what?
Bone crushers, the ice pick type ones with the screws, like long screws. Donavan was wild. Donavan was out of control. There's no law and order there. So they found like a zip gun one time, which is like a homemade gun that you can put a .22 bullet in there and it just hits the back and shoots. And then the higher ups wanted to act like it wasn't that serious of a big deal.
Your higher up or their higher up?
Our higher ups, the correctional higher ups.
Yeah.
A mannequin one time. I
A
think
mannequin?
a mannequin, like they made a mannequin, probably like how the people from Alcatraz escaped. But even the higher ups then too didn't really trip. And I'm like, are you kidding me? This is how you escape. This is how something serious happens. Oh man, one thing.
He said, "Oh man."
I mean, I might as well talk about it because I'm here. There was a dead inmate dead for 3 days. For 3 days.
And you knew that he was dead.
I didn't know he was dead. Like, I'm telling you, Donavan is wild. It's not normal.
Did the guy have like a Sally or something?
I believe the cellie was in there for killing his own dad and living with the dead body for.
Oh, snap.
You know what I mean?
So it made sense.
It's just kind of one of those screwed up situations. Like, how does this happen? How does this happen? And I was a sergeant during that time. I wasn't on that yard. I don't even know if I worked still a couple days. I wasn't on that yard, but for sure, it doesn't take long before like, hey, this dude was all bad. That's what we'll say. Oh, this shit's all bad. Stay away from over there. Don't go. Yeah, the dude was a Mexican inmate, but they said by the time he got you that he looked black, like he was just decomposed.
Wow.
That the coroner came and looked and was like,
This was
call the homicide, call the, like, this is abnormal. This is not normal. Right, because I've told you I've dealt with dead inmates, and they're freshly dead. You got rigor mortis, you got little bit of bloating, pale skin, but this was not that. This was dead for 3 days. 3 days. And the smell, I asked my friends, they said they didn't
even get close.
They said when that door opened from outside the building that it just hit them.
Ooh.
And they were just like, yeah.
And that guy was in there like nothing.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of weird. It's prison. Like, you see some weird things.
Wow.
So, yeah, that takes the cake. I didn't see it. It definitely happened during my time, though. Like,
Yeah, that's crazy.
that's a dead person for 3 days.
I have another question for you really quick. You know how inmates have their own terminology and you have, did you guys go home speaking like them?
So, yes. Yeah. A lot of people tell me I speak like a Southsider, but it's not I'm not doing this shit on purpose.
I think it's kind of normal.
I'm not. Even when I was in the Army, my friend said I had an accent. Oh, you have some type of Southern California accent, you have this, you have that. But to me, I'm not focusing on that. I don't understand it. But oh yeah, we'll always say like, hey, what's up, big homie? Shoot it. We always just kind of joke around. Like, it becomes part of the vocabulary.
Because it's your life. It's like you're in prison. You were in prison for like 16 years.
16. And I think that's what maybe helped me communicate with the inmate population better, because I had great communication skills. So I'm not really going to talk to them like a square. Yeah. The conversation's not going to, you know what I mean? It's going to hit a block. Like,
did you speak to every inmate depending on how they were, like their own personal, you get what I'm saying? Like every inmate is a little different.
It would still be me. It would still be my style. It would still be my words. But yeah, I approach with a different demeanor, depending. Yeah. And depending on their influence level. I didn't treat inmates with the utmost influence type that I'm talking about. I didn't treat them any different, but I did acknowledge their role, and I did acknowledge how powerful I think I was dealing with.
I think that's a very good thing to do, because you have to be in there with them.
Yeah.
And I mean, everybody likes to get a little bit of their, a little rub here and there. Not that you were doing it on purpose, but you were giving them, how should I say?
It's respect.
They're exactly respect. Like their level of respect, you showed it.
It's respect. Mm-hmm. And it was reciprocated.
They saw it.
It's respect. And like I said, there was dudes that I knew from Sentinella, OGs, inmates, level 4s. I think when you're dealing with this, when you're dealing with a lieutenant that's been through some stuff, and then you're dealing with the highest of the highest on this level, that definitely have been through some stuff, mm-hmm. I think we can both agree to say, hey, we're tired of the fighting, we're tired of the violence, we're tired of the unnecessary drama and bullshit. I'm trying to go home, you're trying to make money, just fucking,
yeah.
Let's fucking let the peace. And there was conversations had.
Yeah, I was about to ask you that. Did you ever have to tell any of them, like, hey, man, talk to this person, or hey, get at this person? Because I didn't
have to, because they did it on their own. But there was conversations had. For sure there was conversations had. And it was for the betterment. And that's what our higher-ups didn't care or realize or see. The amount of peace that we were keeping at that level in the trenches was, even the officers in the building, I'll give them credit. Like, they're putting out fires, and the dudes are going to have bad days. People are going to receive bad news. It takes communication to be able to resolve stuff at the lowest level. And yeah, conversations were definitely had. Misunderstandings. Maybe they saw something. Maybe they thought we were messing with them.
We as in the guards.
The guards. Like, let's say they don't have lockdowns anymore, but let's just say there was an emergency count where everybody had to get put away and it just happened to be during a visiting hours. The misconception might be they're messing with us. They're messing with us, they're doing this on purpose. All the short staff not getting their program, the misconception initially was they're fucking with us. They're doing this on purpose. And then that's when those conversations had to be had. Hey, check this out. This, and this. And then they would see it. And then they would appreciate and respect that I took my time because, yeah, not everybody's going to do that. Not everybody has my style. Not everybody. Some people can be like, oh, fucking well. But is that really good? Is that really beneficial to anybody?
No, not at all. Not at all.
I got cops in the building, you know what I mean? They got to live with these guys. They got to work with these guys.
For sure.
So, yeah, a lot of conversations behind the scenes on that level of explaining, not making excuses, but
just
owning
letting
up
them know.
to it. Yeah.
That's cool.
It's crazy.
Did you ever take your feelings home?
Yes.
How did that affect your household?
Well, that's why I resigned. One of the reasons, I thought I had it under control. You know, I wasn't coming home, slapping my wife around, slamming doors or kicking the dog. I wasn't doing that. But what I was doing was being very short-tempered, very isolated, very cold, calloused, like no emotions. Like something sad could happen to maybe my wife, and I would just be nothing.
Oh, yeah, that shit was hurting her.
You know what I mean? And that's kind of messed up. That's not fair. That's not normal. That's not cool. Not that I didn't care. It's just that I didn't want to deal with it. I'm already dealing with a lot at work. I don't want to deal with this extra stuff when actually that's backwards thinking. My home life is my home life. Work is work, you know. But it wasn't until I had my 4-year-old daughter, well, she's 4 now, that she would be trying to play with me, or like I was just very cold, like very, at parties, family parties, people would be having conversations. I wasn't having conversations.
You're just there.
I was there. It's kind of awkward because like people are probably thinking like, what's wrong with this guy?
He's just there quiet.
But yeah, I was there quiet. And I think about it is because at work, I'm quiet. I'm not talking about my personal life at work because you don't want inmates to overhear. You don't want them to know your personal life. But I couldn't turn that off. I couldn't flip a switch. I didn't even know that I was doing that. Now that I've resigned, like a social butterfly again.
Yeah.
In high school, I was a class clown, you know what I mean? And I miss that. And I'm bringing that dude back. Like, the military changed my thinking. The prison system changed my thinking. I'm coming back to...
Good for you. Good for you.
Coming
I'm sure
back.
your wife
Oh,
is
my
super
daughter,
happy.
it's I can't keep her off of me. Hanging, crawling all over me, coloring.
That's cool. That's cool. I have a 4-year-old as well, so
See,
I
you
know.
know what I mean? She paints my toenails. She must have felt the energy shift.
She
must
could
have.
approach you now.
Yeah. And it's crazy. It's who would have thought that it was that?
I'm so glad that, you know, I was going to say make changes, but your life wasn't, it's not like you were living in the wrong path because you had a career, you had your life, but your career was messing your real life, messing you up.
I was making a lot of money. But what good is it? What good is it if I'm spending more, stressing more?
Just being unhappy.
Correct. I was unhappy. Right now I'm making less, probably 10 times less, but I've never been happier.
That's right.
Never been happier in my life.
Good for you.
Honestly.
Good for you.
Yeah. This is great.
Yes, good for you.
This is awesome.
Good for you. So where are you at? You say you just retired.
Yeah.
What do you have going on for yourself? Tell us.
So I kind of didn't, jump off a cliff without a parachute. I kind of, behind the scenes, was doing a little planning. I started my own business. It's called Torment Tactical, where I kind of do firearms instructing, but it's mostly like physical fitness, mindset, and nutrition training, where I have people I get them right. You know what I mean? Physically, mentally, and spiritually from my experiences of doing everything wrong the first time around, you know. So I'm doing that. I started my YouTube channel that kind of blew up recently.
Good for you. Tell them what your YouTube channel is.
That prison guard. Yeah, I made a Fresno Bulldog video about the integration, and then that just blew up, and then I've kind of just been rolling with it since. Getting good feedback on former inmates and, you know, my peers. And that's what the ultimate goal was, to break down that wall of, hey, we're not all like this. The misconception that guards are beating people up with a billy club. Nah, we talk, we communicate, we keep the peace. Mm-hmm. And that was my goal. Like, I'm a regular dude.
That's right.
I'm a regular guy, man. Like, so there's that. And then I got an Instagram going, Hector Bravo. It's the same stuff. It's just this new life giving back.
Good. Good for you.
Yup.
Good for you. All right, well, thank you for coming on Indicted. I appreciate it to the max.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you for having me. This is awesome.
You're welcome. Thank you for watching Indicted. Don't forget to follow, share, and like, and follow us on Instagram.